Now, Saudi Arabia and the United States have accused Iran of playing a destabilizing role in the region. The Saudi King Salman and the U.S. President Donald Trump agreed via phone call to address what they called Iran's destabilizing regional activities. Meanwhile, a White House statement says Trump and Salman want to rigorously enforce the Iran nuclear deal. They also agreed to establish safe zones in war-ravaged Syria and Yemen. Saudi Arabia is part of a so-called U.S.-led coalition against terrorism, but both countries are widely blamed for backing and arming terrorist groups in their fight against government forces in Syria and Iraq. Now, Iran says the future of Syria and Iraq must be decided by the people of those countries. And joining us now at Bristol once again is Mr. Tony Gosling, investigative journalist. Hello there, Tony, and thanks for joining us back on the program. Tony, many critics are extremely concerned that a U.S. president with little or no understanding of Middle East politics will further destabilize the region, and this Washington-Riyadh relationship is one of those topics of concern. Your thoughts?
Yes, I think you're right. He is going to be destabilizing things, although it does look as if the Russian alliance between with Assad is kind of blocking the US in Syria. But look, let's just have a look at this guy, Mad Dog James Mattis, that he's appointing the Secretary of Defense. You're talking there about somebody who urged Trump not to end support for Syrian rebels back on the 1st of December last year. We're now in the situation where we're being told that Syrian refugees from that conflict, there's an indefinite ban on them, dovetailing with the previous story. Also with Iraq and Sudan and Libya and Yemen and Iran, of course. So this blocking of people who are coming from this part of the world is absolutely appalling, considering that people like James Mattis are actually still saying, or at least he was in December, that the rebels should be being armed. These are people that most people in the world don't call them rebels, they call them terrorists. So I think that what's happening is you've got kind of blowback, what they call blowback, which is why one of the reasons that Trump is trying to stop people coming into the United States. But actually, the 9/11 attacks were apparently conducted, we're told, from a cave in Afghanistan. So how is it going to help him at all?
And you know, and according to many critics, Iran is fighting terrorism and asking for help to continue fighting terrorism. And Riyadh promotes a strict Wahhabi doctrine, which actually promotes terrorism, which it also is very eager to export to regional countries. Yet you hear nothing out of the West about this known fact. Why?
I mean, it's because it's propaganda, effectively. I mean, what we've had for the last few decades is these various different, I suppose you could call them fake versions of the Abrahamic religions, the Abrahamic faiths. I mean, if you think of people like Benjamin Netanyahu and Tzipi Livni as Jewish leaders, well, actually, these people are what many would call them. In fact, in Malaysia, they have been successfully tried as war criminals. You've also got, in the Christian world, the Bush and Blair characters, supposed Christians. Maybe did they pray together? There is a certain amount of doubt about that, but they certainly portrayed themselves as Christians. And then we've got the Wahhabism faith, and we've got ISIS. So we've got fake versions of these Abrahamic faiths. Actually, of course, there's Zionism too. Many people say that is a kind of fake form of Judaism. So I think that's effectively what we're dealing with here. And these are set up deliberately, these fake versions of these various faiths, including Islam, in order for people like Donald Trump try and shoot them down, to criticize them. Effectively, I don't think he's going to be successful in all of this. And if he does pursue this policy he is at the moment, there's going to be more problems. Saudi Arabia, I think, is almost a busted flush, which is worrying, because if the US loses that part of its influence in the Middle East, one wonders where it's going to go next to gain influence. It may be that this will provoke the US to even more extreme action if Saudi Arabia starts to crumble, and it's certainly not looking, the royal family there, the dictatorship effectively, is not looking very stable at the moment.
Thank you, Tony, once again, for your input and your contribution to the program. That was Tony Gosling, investigative journalist, joining us out of Bristol.